Hello everyone, my name is Brenessa, or Bren for short, and welcome back to Cozy Haven, my modded single player slash I sometimes have friends over world. It's complicated. I've kind of explained this before, but we won't get into that right now. As you can see, I've decided to farm, and I'm recording the voiceover after because I cannot multitask whatsoever. So I'm going to be working on my crops. This is part of my farm. It's like the third section of my farm, and I am going to talk a little bit. That's kind of what this whole series has become, is just me talking about whatever's on my mind while I play Minecraft, and you get to listen to some nice ambiance from the block world. Usually I do this in real time, but I really wanted to just focus on building, and then when I was talking, I wanted to be able to kind of focus on what I was saying a little bit more. So there may be more voiceovers in the future, probably, and there also might be somewhere I just talk. So if you have a preference, I'm gonna do both anyway, so it'll be there. Today I wanted to talk about the importance of setting different sized goals and just talking about goals in general. I love setting goals. That's something I have been doing for a long time. I don't remember when I started setting goals. I've kind of been taught how to set goals in school, believe it or not, but I don't remember what they taught us, so I don't actually know when I started setting goals. I think it was something that I just kind of started doing out of necessity because I wanted to start making projects and wanted to organize my life a little bit more. So that's I think the backstory for that. I came up with this topic because I was talking to my dad the other day. We went and got brunch, I would say, and it doesn't matter, but we went and got brunch and we were talking, and I was telling him about my YouTube channel because I've had such a journey with it. I've almost been doing it for 10 years. I looked it up. I never know how long I've been doing YouTube because I had a channel before this one. So I think I've been doing YouTube since I was like 12, but I started this channel when I was like I want to say like 14. Yeah, 14. That makes sense because this year in August, I think it's like August 6th, I have it in my calendar. It'll be my 10-year anniversary for this channel in particular, since I uploaded my very first video, which is like a little building video, super cute. You don't need to watch it, but if you want to, it's still there. Yeah, so I've had such a journey, and I was just talking with him about my YouTube channel because he's like, oh, are you still doing it? Because I've had periods where I don't upload for like a year or two, and then there were periods where I was like uploading pretty consistently, like at least once a week. And so I feel like I've also grown up with it, and I feel like a lot of my childhood is connected to it. I started, like I said, when I was 14, and now I'm like entering my mid-20s. Oh, gross, scary. No, it's okay. We love aging. It's good for you. It's normal. That's its own thing. But yeah, we've gone through a lot together on this channel, and so I was telling him about, well, essentially he was like, are you still doing YouTube? And like, is that something you're still interested in? And I was like, yeah, because there was one point when I was posting and a lot of people found me and would watch my videos. Essentially, I had a bigger audience at one point, and I was telling him, I was like, well, I feel like it was nice when a lot of people watched, but I'm at a point where I don't care how many people watch, and I'm having more fun now. And he was like, oh yeah, absolutely. That's the entire point of it, is if you're not having fun, then it's just work and it's not worth it. And I'm like, yeah, I had to change my mindset with YouTube, and right now I'm having a lot more fun, even though some might say like, oh, you used to have so many subscribers. That's what he said. He was like, how many subscribers do you have and how many people are watching? And I'm like, well, from back in the day, I had quite a few, like I still do, but when it comes to views, like it's very different. But I don't mind it because I feel like people are engaging with the content a little bit more than before. But, you know, I'm happy with that and not trying to focus on numbers too much because they can be a lot and make you feel like it's something that, I don't know, you need to focus more on and that they're more important than they are. And this is just a hobby, so I don't need to worry about it. But I was telling him that I took like a year or two off unintentionally. I did leave YouTube at one point, but there was another time where I just couldn't post, and it was because I was scared to post, which sounds really silly. Like, I really wanted to post videos and make videos. Like, I loved it, but I was so scared to even like start, so I just never worked on anything. I would here and there, but most of the time I'm like, I can't even think about that right now. Like, I'm so scared to post. And I remember writing things down where I'm like, I want to make stuff, but I'm so terrified. And as I was telling him that, I said at that point, because those numbers were so high, I felt like if I did anything that other people didn't like or resonate with, it would just, like, no one would like it, or very few people would like it, and I would feel disappointed. And I felt this pressure that if I didn't do what other people wanted, then it wasn't going to be quote unquote good, and it would look bad and make me feel bad. And also, it just wasn't fun. I did have fun at one point making a certain type of content, like roleplay content was something I really loved, and I'm getting back into it. Not to divert too much, but I am going to get back into it. I enjoy it now. But at the time I was like, I'm just doing this to do it. Like, I actually don't care right now for it. And then I also felt the pressure of having to constantly make bigger and bigger and better videos and projects for specifically Minecraft roleplay content, where I was working with a big group and scripting everything out, and it took a really long time for each video because that's also what the algorithm liked at the time. And so I just felt like it had to always be bigger and better, and my goals had to get bigger and better. And I couldn't just make a video like how I'm making one now, where I'm just talking and you're watching gameplay footage. Even though that's where I started out with videos kind of like this, where I was just doing whatever I wanted. And that's kind of where the fun was. And I kind of lost what made it fun after it became like this big thing that didn't feel as tangible. And so that kind of sparked me wanting to talk about goals and how I kind of navigate goals. Maybe it'll help you as well with your goals. I think goals are so important. And I think that if you know how to kind of navigate them and not get overwhelmed by them, they can be very, very helpful if you're someone who wants to do more things or create more things or go places and just better yourself. I think they can be very helpful, but I understand they can be very overwhelming. So I have a couple disclaimers I want to go over first. Firstly, the way I define everything and talk about everything might not be 100% accurate, just because this is how I interpret things, and I don't remember everything perfectly. I have listened to things, I've read things about goal setting and stuff like that, but I am not peer-reviewed. I'm just a girl yapping. And then secondly, I wanted to say those who are neurodivergent, and I consider myself to be in that category. It's like a whole complicated thing, but I think I'm in there. I can get more into that later. But those who are a part of that community, please know that you are not less than if you feel that you don't resonate with anything I say, or if you've tried the things I'm going to suggest and they don't work for you. Everyone is different, and especially those who are neurodivergent, your brain works very differently to those who are neurotypical, and there are ways to approach what I'm suggesting differently that might work better for you. That goes for everyone as well. This isn't like a cookie cutter solution. Feel free to kind of adjust things where you need. Play around with it. This is what works for me. I'm just a girl, and I wanted to share what works for me in case it might help someone. Okay, so with that being said, I wanted to define the difference between a goal and a task. For me, a goal is something that you set for yourself that you want to better yourself or improve something in your life. It's something you can aspire to become, to do. It can be quite inspirational, or it can be something to better your life. Whereas I feel that a task is something that you have to do, but it doesn't always have to be inspirational. And it's something that might not be fun. Goals also can sometimes not be fun when you're working towards them, but it's just something that you are required to do. It doesn't have to hold a huge importance over you in your life. It's just something that needs an action to be done and to be completed. And I think that goals and tasks can kind of be interchangeable depending on what it is. My example that I'm thinking of right now is making your bed every morning. You can set a goal to make your bed every morning. That would be your goal, whereas the task would be for that day, make your bed. Now I want to talk about how I set goals, the layout that I use for it, how I split them up, kind of that whole system. I've become really proud of the system I've come up with because it works really well for me as of right now. It's evolved over time, so hopefully sharing how I do things might help you or inspire you. You can take little bits and pieces from it and make it work for you. The most important part when it comes to setting goals, I think, is flexibility. Knowing when you set goals that there is going to be changes throughout the goals progression is very important, because if you're very stern with how you go about it or how it looks like, it might end up being a lot more difficult to achieve these goals. And I think flexibility and an open mind is very, very important to have. The way I like to set up my goals is I do yearly goals and I split those into 4 quarters. They kind of match with the seasons. Kind of love that for me. Honestly, it's really cute. And then I have weekly goals and daily goals, which might feel very overwhelming, but I'll kind of explain how I do that, because trust me, I'm not thinking about all of these goals 24/7. And then just a side note for anyone wondering, for scheduling things, I use Google Calendar, where I just schedule events or things I need to remember there. Those aren't necessarily goals. I don't put my goals in there, but that's kind of how I organize that. So let's talk about yearly goals. For my yearly goals, I use the program Notion. It's also a website if you want to use it on there. It's essentially a text productivity organization. I always have a bit of trouble explaining what Notion is, but you can organize online text and links and stuff like that. It's really good for organization, like I said. I love it for other things too, but this is where I keep I call them quarterly goals, yearly quarterly goals / planning. Well, I have each year separated into like a little drop down folder type of thing, and I like to separate them into 4 quarters. So in each quarter there's 3 months, so quarter 1 would be January, February, March, etc., and then it's all equal. It works out really well. And for this year, I kind of filled it out so that I could have as many goals as I wanted, but I am going to change that for 2026, where I can only have 3 main goals per month, because I feel like that's more tangible for me. And then on the side, I have a little section that's broken up into bigger goals that I don't know where it fits into the month, but I have projects and I list them and have a little section where I can check them off if I complete them. I have videos that I might want to do, and then other things that I might want to complete. I have one for tasks. They're littler goals / tasks that I want to eventually complete throughout the year, and some of them are easier than others, but we'll get into that later. But having them all out on the side makes it a little bit easier to kind of plan your year. I actually started out by doing the first 2 quarters. I put in all the goals I wanted for the first 2 quarters, and then in June I had another extra little task / goal that said update goals for the rest of the year. And something I love about using Notion is you can move your goals A lot of the time, I wouldn't get them done in that month, so I would move them to the next month, and I'm still doing that to this day. And I think, like I said, that flexibility has really made it possible for me to actually get things done, because it does feel a little bit bad when it's just sitting in your January section of goals and you're like, well, it's September now, like what do I do? I don't really want to do it. It looks kind of bad. That's something I found really, really helpful. Another thing I like to do, I say like I've done it every year. I did it last year. I made a vision board, I guess you could call it, where I did a visual. I have a bunch of pictures of what I want my year to look like visually. I put goals and just things I want to be doing, how I want to spend my time, just a visual of what that looks like. Not all necessarily goals, but just kind of like what I want the vibes to be for the next year. And then I wrote some things here and there. It's really just like an artistic way for me to kind of visualize my year. You don't have to do that if you're not someone who likes to make visual things, but if you are, I think it's really fun. So I included that in here so I can see it when I'm going through my goals, and I don't check off my goals at the end of every month. I can get kind of lazy if I'm being honest, but it's really easy to go back and look at what I've done and then go in and just check the boxes as I go throughout the year. And it's really nice because you can copy and paste your template to the next year and you don't have to worry about it. And so for weekly/daily goals, I kind of work with them together. What I like to do for this one, you could use Notion, however, I found using a physical book for these ones makes it a little bit more tangible for me and a little bit more likely for me to actually complete it, because as I go throughout my day, I'm crossing them off. So the layout I like to do is I have my book open and I use both the left and right page, but I use them for completely separate but they work together reasons. On the left side, I write the days of the week. I'll get into how I do that because I do it a very specific way. And then on the right, I put the goals that I want to try and get done either this week or within the next week as well. So on the left side, when I'm writing out the days of the week, I write the first letter of the day. So if it's Tuesday, I write a T and I put a box around it so I know that it's Tuesday. And then on the right side, I kind of have like two columns. On the right side, I will write the next day. So if it's Tuesday, then I'll write Wednesday, I'll write the W, put it in a box, and then I'll make a list, a bullet point list of things I want to do. So for instance, if it's a task/goal, it'll be clean bathroom, record video, call so-and-so, and then I'll do it for the other one. But I only write the current day and then tomorrow. I don't add anything for the rest of the week there. Once the day is over, once Tuesday's over, and then it's Wednesday, then I can go in and add Thursday underneath the Tuesday. So it's kind of going from left to right, back and forth in the columns. That way, if I have anything else I want to add to that day, I'm not running out of room for the bullet points. And then as I complete tasks, like I said, I cross them out and then I'm good to go. It's kind of messy, but it's also kind of fun. So then for the weekly goals, I like to write them on the right side of the page. So if I have a bigger thing that I know is going to take a couple more days to complete, or it's something I don't want to forget, let's say something came up and I'm like, oh, I need to do that on this day, or I need to do it later in the week, I'll write it on the right side of the page. So it's kind of a list of things that need to be done, but they don't have a certain day delegated. Is that the word for them? And then also when I complete those, I can cross it out. So essentially, you're looking at the right side of the page when you're trying to figure out what you want to do for that day. You look at the right side of the page, go through and go, okay, I can do this today, and then you add it to your today. And then when you complete it, you get to cross it out twice, which also is very rewarding and satisfying. And then once I complete the left side of the page, then I flip the page over to a new spread, and anything that I didn't complete on the right side of the page, the big tasks that don't have a date delegated to it, I'll just add them to the right page on the next page, and they kind of just keep going, because there are some cases where I'll write tasks that I want to get done and then they end up going on to the next page a couple times, and then I'm like, you know what, actually I don't think it's that important, or I'll feel that urgency and I'm like, okay, I really need to get this done so it doesn't make it to the next page because this is getting ridiculous. Now I want to talk about size of goals, different sized goals, how to kind of figure out if it's a big goal, a small goal, and how to kind of approach that, or how I do at least. So I like to think about goals in 3 different sizes. I think about like tiny/small goals, like getting out of bed. For some that might be a bigger goal than others, but for me it's gotten to a point where that's a small goal. It's like, okay, get out of bed, and then I can check it off. I like to think of these as like 5-minute goals, maybe 10-minute goals. I would say honestly maybe more like 5-minute, 1 to 5 minute goals, something you can get done within that time. Then we have medium goals. This could be something that you get done during the day. It's a bigger task. It feels pretty daunting, but you know you can get it done in a day, something like that. Or it can be something that's going to take a couple days to get done, but you know, like, oh, I could easily get that done in a week. It's not something that's going to take weeks and weeks and weeks to do. And then there are bigger goals. This is something that's going to take like a long time. It might take a month, or it might take a couple months, but it's going to take a lot of work to get done, and you're going to have to break it down significantly to get to that bigger goal. And I just want to keep this in mind. Everybody's goals look different. Like I said, getting out of bed for me has gotten to a point where it's not a huge thing, but at one point it was a big goal for me to just get out of bed. Everybody's different. Now that we kind of understand the different sized goals, I think it's important to say, I think variety in the different sizes of goals is really important. I've found for me, if I set too many big goals, that I get overwhelmed and then I don't even complete anything because I'm so overwhelmed by trying to figure out how to approach them. However, I do think that you can just start small. You can start with just small goals if that's what feels correct and comfortable to you. And eventually, if you do want to have bigger goals, you can kind of grow from there. But I think starting small is the way to go. I did actually read a book. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's a very popular book, and I would like to reread it, honestly. It's changed a lot of how I approach habits and goals. Highly recommend. But in the book, he talks about starting habits/goals and making them so small and easy that it's almost like, why wouldn't I do it? Because if it's like even slightly a little bit too difficult, your brain doesn't want to do something that's difficult necessarily, right? If it's so easy that it feels dumb not to do it, you're gonna do it. And you want to start building that habit of just doing things and getting in the habit of completing tasks that will allow you to get closer to your goals. And then over time, those tasks will become something that you don't even think about. It'll become so frictionless that it's something like brushing your teeth every day, where you know you should be doing it every day and it's working towards keeping your teeth clean, the overall goal of keeping your teeth clean and healthy, but it's not something that feels daunting. Going back to bigger goals, I really want to emphasize the idea of baby steps. This is something that honestly changed my life. I remember setting all these really big goals for me. I didn't think they were that big at the time, but now looking back, I'm like, oh, they were like huge goals. I think baby steps and breaking things down into smaller goals is so important because they feel like you can actually get them done. When it's just a big goal, it feels so daunting because you're going from 0 to 100 instantly, and there's so many steps you need to take to get there. So when you have a bigger goal, I would highly recommend breaking it down into the smallest, easiest tasks that you can think of. Whether it's, I need to get a group together and I need to contact them for this project, the first thing you do is you add a point that says, message so-and-so. Even though it seems self-explanatory and you're like, well, like I just have to do that to get it done anyways, like it's barely even a task. No, write it down so you can cross it out. Once you get in the habit of crossing things out, you're going to want to do it more and more, and even if it's really, really small, it becomes so important to build that habit to just cross things out as you get things done and feel that reward. It's also very important to be very specific about these tasks. If it's too vague and kind of abstract, it can be much harder to know when you've completed the task. So I would say break it down to something that seems oversimplified, but you can easily see yourself doing it. You can imagine yourself sitting down doing whatever it is and not just kind of like building this idea of what it could be. An example to kind of make this a little less vague would be if you wanted to work out more, instead of just say go to the gym, write out what that looks like. If you've never gone to the gym before, you don't actually really know too much about what that looks like, and it could feel quite daunting. Then you don't want to go because like, oh, what am I gonna do? Write it out. Drive to the gym, walk in, check in. I've never been to the gym if you couldn't tell. And then list out what you want to do at the gym, what machines you want to use, how long you want to be there for roughly, and then whatever you do after you go to the gym. So then that way, when you get back, you can check them all off and you know what it looks like, and it's not just go to the gym, because that could look like anything. And then also you're setting yourself up for success because you kind of have an idea of what you're working on and how you can improve, learning all the machines, how much you do it. You can even say like how many sets you want for each machine, like really go into detail if that's something that you feel works for you. And to kind of wrap all of this up, I have a couple questions I think that you should be asking yourself as you work and plan your goals. Ask yourself, is this getting me closer to where I want to be? Sometimes while you're working on things, it might not be as productive as you think it might be. Maybe you need to switch things up. Is this working for me? Do I feel like it's getting me closer, or do I feel like I'm like 5 steps back? What do I need to change? And that kind of leads me into the next. Do I need to change my approach? Is what I planned actually working? Should I change the approach? Does it just need to be tweaked? Or is it something that I need to scrap? Those two kind of go hand in hand. And then the last one that I think is also just important to consider while you're working towards it is, do I still want to achieve this exact goal? Maybe you want to achieve that goal, but maybe it needs to be altered. Maybe the goalpost needs to be changed. Or maybe you've learned that the process of this isn't something you enjoy, or it isn't actually fitting into your lifestyle. There's something that needs to be adjusted. It's maybe not what you envisioned, and you need to seek something else out, or you want to spend your time doing something completely different. All of that's okay, and I think it's good to self-reflect and ask yourself those questions and become more in tune with what you want. So that's what I've been thinking about when it comes to goals, my own goals, how I think it could help other people with, I don't know, what I think about. Please be kind to yourself. Go at your own pace. Don't think that you need to be at a certain pace because someone else is. These are for you and you only. And yeah, let me know if you have any suggestions for goal setting or if you learned anything. I love hearing what you guys have to say. Another quick note before we go, because I love an update. You know I love an update. I completed my social media detox. If you want a video on that, I could probably honestly make a whole separate video just talking about that. The last video I made was kind of talking about that while I was in the middle of it. So now I've completed my week of no social media, and I learned some things and wanted to talk about it, but overall it went good. Thank you so much for watching and participating in this conversation. I appreciate you all so very, very much. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video.